Hello, and thank you for joining us for our BNI San Diego podcast. I'm live in Las Vegas for our 2024 BNI National Conference, and I've got a very good friend and a colleague, Richard Isom from BNI Utah South. You are the executive director in BNI Utah South, co-executive director, along with Kip Kent. And I'm excited to have you here today. And Richard, how long have you been in BNI, first and foremost?
So 10 years now as started as a BNI.
That's right. You got to actually your 10-year pin at our national conference today.
I did. I got to walk across the stage.
That's fantastic. So today, Richard, I'm really excited about this topic because I've actually heard you speak on it before. So what are we talking about today?
Now, I want to talk about lemon bars today. And this goes back to when I was dating my wife many moons ago. I baked lemon bars to impress her family. I took them over, and her mom loved them, asked for the recipe, proceeded to have her brother make the lemon bars. And then she called me to tell me the recipe didn't work. I fortunately knew enough about my mother-in-law by that point in time to know what had happened. She had this paradigm that butter and sugar were very unhealthy, and so she cut them in recipes. Copiously would cut them. And so I asked her, I says, okay, how much of the butter did you have them put in? Oh, way too much butter. It was only 25% of the butter. Oh. Okay, what did you do with the sugar? Yeah, cut that to only 25% of the sugar. Okay.
So wait a minute. So you're telling me that she's, I'm going to use the term, messing with the recipe.
Totally changed the recipe. And if any of you know anything about lemon bars, those are the two biggest ingredients in lemon bars. And so not only was she messing with the recipe, she messed with two of the primary ingredients in lemon bars. And as I go around my chapters now, I share the story, and then I say, why would I be sharing this with you? And they kind of start smiling because they know where I'm going with this point. I says, BNI's got a recipe, guys, right? It's got a recipe for success. And do you guys know what that recipe is?
So what is that? Tell our listeners what that recipe is.
And it's called the power of one. And it's a simple concept. Each week, attend your meeting.
Yeah. Then do a one-to-one with a fellow member. Make sure that you're doing a chapter education unit. Out of that, make sure you're coming up with a good referral to give. And that's every week. And then once a month, bring somebody to introduce them to your referral partners that could be a part of that team. And that simple recipe is success in BNI.
It is.
Right?
When people do that, it brings them success. In our region, we offer a 10-10 guarantee. We guarantee 10 times your investment in 10 months. And it's based on fulfilling this recipe.
So in other words, in order for that to work, you've got to complete the recipe. So if I'm someone that says, you know what, I just don't have time for one-to-ones.
Honestly, my answer to somebody that was going to say that before they're in would be, maybe BNI's not going to be a good fit because you just aren't going to get the results, because that's a part of the recipe for success. So
just like the lemon bars, you mess with the recipe, and what's the end result? It's probably not very flavorful.
It isn't.
It's not even a lemon bar really anymore, is it?
In fact, if my wife was sitting here with us, she'd tell you that they were trying to chisel those things out of the pan. I jokingly have said, if you mess with the recipe like that, you get lemon crackers. She says it wasn't even lemon crackers. It was like lemon cement super glued into the pan. And it's just not desirable.
Yeah.
And same thing, if you don't follow the BNI recipe, then you've got a lot of disappointment, because we track these metrics for a reason.
Yeah.
For example, how do you implement a system that you don't know and understand what it is that goes into it, why we're doing the things that we do? You can't.
No.
And so the hour of BNI networking education, taking advantage of all the learning from the past 40 years of people that have really tried everything to find what does work. That's invaluable to learn from that. the one-to-ones, you brought those up. That deepens the relationship. How do we pass referrals to somebody
You don't know.
that we don't know?
Yeah.
If we don't know, like, and trust them, or understand what a good referral is for them, how can we give that referral? As much as we desire to, we just can't give a referral.
Well, or you can give a referral, and then what happens when it doesn't go well, right? Because what goes with every referral? We're loaning somebody our credibility with that person, and when you don't take the time, the opportunity to invest into that relationship, to get to know them, to find out that it's going to be a great fit and someone that you can really refer to, you can actually damage your credibility with all these other people. And in like manner, it's taking out the butter or taking out the sugar. And what's the point in saying, hey, I want to make lemon bars, if you're really not wanting to make lemon bars?
Absolutely. Visitors, if we don't bring new connections in, how do we expand our opportunities for success? You can't, I like to tell the people that have a little beard or something, you can't send a substitute or not go and just call in to the barber to trim your beard. You've got to show up. You've got to be there. That attendance and preparation for the meeting's just absolutely critical.
Especially when it comes down to building relationships. You've got to be, what's that old saying? You must be present to win. In order to build a relationship, you've got to be relational. You've got to be present. You've got to be engaging one another. And when and again, that's why one of the power of one is showing up. That's the very first thing. In order to be successful, you got to show up. Right? So these are all 5 of these things. Again, attendance, showing up, 1 referral per week, 1 CEU per week, 1 one-to-one per week, and then 1 visitor per month. That's the recipe for success.
It's 100% the recipe for success. In fact, we shouldn't even be talking about just being green. The real target's actually 100.
Ooh.
That's really the real target for full success. Anything less, we're reducing our results.
Well, and then and then there goes the bigger conversation. Do you want to spend your time doing something, or do you want to invest your efforts into something to then create a return on that investment? If you're just spending money, it's not about investment. It's not about getting a return. But if the moment you transition to making an investment into something, that's when you're looking to get a return. And that's exactly right? When you're taking the time to create these lemon bars and you start the stove, you get all the ingredients out, and if you miss any one of those, it's going to be that lemon cracker or what did your wife say?
It was something like lemon cement.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's not going to work. So take the time to build the recipe as it's stated. If someone hands you a recipe and, to a cake, building a house, whatever it is, follow the recipe.
And it's the total reason why we invest in a BNI membership. We come because we want to grow our business.
Absolutely.
That's why we came to BNI. And I will never forget, it's been about 5, maybe 6 years ago, I was sitting in another conference like the one we're at today. And Phil Berg was one of the speakers.
One of my heroes, Phil Berg.
And he says, excuse me, he says, are you going to BNI?
Ooh.
Or are you using BNI?
Ooh.
Are you making BNI actually about your business? Or is it just a group that you belong to and go to? And if we're investing in BNI to grow our business, we need to be using BNI. We need to not view it as something separate from our business, but instead be fully invested in using that system of success to actually get the results we came into it for.
Well, I love that term, fully vested, right? You're all in, right? If you're gonna take the time to invest your money, your time, why go halfway, right? Why only, you know what? I've got these 5 ingredients. I'm only going to use 4 of them, or I'm only going to use 3 of them, or even worse, I'm going to use them, but I'm going to change, like you said. I'm not going to put all the sugar in. I'm only going to put half the sugar in, or I'm only going to, so instead of 1-1-to-1 per week, you know what? Maybe every 2 to 3 weeks, I'll do a 1-to-1, or, whatever it is, however you want to take that recipe and tweak it, it's still not going to come out the right way.
And in fact, we've got the statistical evidence going through all of BNI's history of how each of these elements, when reduced, actually causes a bottom line reduction in the number of referrals received. Have the attendance, have the referrals. Don't do 1-to-1s. You can watch. I mean, I'm sure you've seen this.
Oh yeah.
When 1-to-1s go up, referrals follow right behind. And when 1-to-1s go down, referrals follow.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, they're linked. And we know chapters that grow, which means people are bringing visitors to their chapter. More businesses passed per member and on average than in the smaller chapters.
And as you said, we have the statistical data to be able to show this. That's like looking at the box from the recipe, if you get it out of a box for lemon bars. Does the picture on the lemon bar look like the sludge or the crackers that it actually is? And if you look at the data, is the data that's shown when members that are successful, that are engaging, that are doing the things that are necessary to be successful. If the data shows to do this and you're not, is it going to come out the same?
And it's not just a numbers game either. If you think about it, when you look at a recipe, not only does it list the ingredients and the quantity of the ingredients,
it's the order that they go.
The order, the temperature you bake it at, the time you bake it, everything. And again, coming back to the education.
That's going to be a whole nother podcast, just that element, right? Because we talked about the recipe, but there's other elements to the recipe as well. The things that we don't necessarily see, like putting it in what heat ratio does the stove need to be in? How long does it need to be in? All of those little things. Oh my God, Richard, we need to come on again. I need to have you on again to be able to talk through this even further, because that's more conversation.
Absolutely.
So for our listeners, thank you for joining us today. And Richard, thank you for taking the time out of, I know you're busy with workshops and all the things that are going on in conference. Thank you for taking the time. Could you share with our listeners, maybe a tidbit, something that from your experience in BNI and building and baking a lemon bar, what's one element of advice that you could leave our listeners with?
Get engaged. Don't let the excuses of being busy and all the different things that we have keep you from actually fully investing in the system that you have already bought into. You applied for membership, and once you're accepted, you paid your fee. Use the system and don't question it. It's going to make awesome results for you if you just trust what's there.
Ooh, I think this quote just popped into my head, whether it's my own personal quote now or somebody else's, but it made me think of don't be too busy for success. So we're going to leave you with that. Again, thank you for joining us today. We are live from Las Vegas, and we look forward to being back with you next week with another amazing guest, just like Richard. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, everyone.
This episode of the BNI San Diego Podcast has been brought to you by Cruise Productions, a San Diego-based video production company and proud BNI member. You can find us at the intersection where business and creativity meet, or online at cruiseproductionsinc.com.